My younger sister Emily sold the last remaining thing my biological parents ever gave me, a gold chain I had protected for years. She used the money to buy matching designer sweatshirts for herself and her little clique. When I confronted her about it, she smirked like she had just aced some twisted competition and said, "Guess I win again." I didn't argue, I didn't yell. I didn't say anything at all. That happened 9 months ago. Yesterday, she called me crying, shaking, and sitting in the back seat of a police cruiser. Back then, it would have been hard to imagine things unraveling the way they did. Because once upon a time, I actually believed I had been given a second chance at life. I was 6 years old when I was adopted. The Child Welfare Agency in Portland had finally matched me with a family after over a year bouncing between foster homes. I still remember sitting on that creaky vinyl chair in the caseworker's office when the Martins walked in. Angela, my new mom, knelt to my eye level and hugged me like she had known me forever. My chest swelled with something I couldn't quite name, something that felt dangerously close to hope. "Thank you for loving me," I whispered as she squeezed me tight. I was missing 3 teeth and my voice still squeaked. At that moment, it felt like the world had shifted in my favor. My very own forever home, someone who saw me, someone who chose me. But if I had known what came next, I might have run the other way. It started subtly. Within a few months, Angela found out she was pregnant. Everyone in the family called the baby a miracle they'd been trying for years with no success. Now suddenly they had both me and one of their own on the way. My dad, Greg, called it destiny. At first, I didn't think much of the changes. I told myself they were just busy. When Angela stopped reading bedtime stories, I figured she was tired. When Greg brushed me off during our afternoon catch games, I thought maybe his work was overwhelming. But that quiet neglect, it settled into the walls like dust. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't scrub it off. I didn't realize it back then, but the gold chain my birth mom left with the social worker, it was more than just a necklace. It was proof. Proof that once someone had held me in their arms and said, "You matter," and now it was gone, just like everything else. I wanted to believe it was just temporary, the distance, the shift in tone, the silence. At 7 years old, I convinced myself that love was like the weather, unpredictable but sure to return if you waited long enough. So I waited. Angela's pregnancy became the center of our home. Every conversation, every weekend errand, every plan revolved around the baby. "She's our little blessing," Greg would say, rubbing Angela's belly like it held the Holy Grail. I started drawing pictures, stick figures of me, Greg, Angela, and the baby. I taped them to the fridge, hoping it would remind them I still existed. I helped pick out toys from Target, humming lullabies I made up on the spot, while resting my head on Angela's stomach. Because I knew what it felt like to grow up forgotten, and I swore Emily, my soon-to-be little sister, would never feel that. The day she was born, everything changed. They didn't tell me I couldn't hold her, but the way they hovered as I reached toward the crib made it clear I wasn't welcome. I backed away, smiled politely, and clapped like the nurses did. A month later, Greg forgot to pick me up from my art class. I waited outside in the rain until the janitor called the front office. On my 7th birthday, no one remembered. No cake, no gift, not even a happy birthday. They were busy decorating Emily's nursery with pastel animal decals. Still, I swallowed it. Maybe they were tired. Maybe it was just one of those things parents forget. The hugs stopped too. Angela said she didn't want Emily to get jealous if she saw me being cuddled. I wasn't sure how that made sense, but I nodded. I was the big brother now. Big brothers didn't complain. By age 9, I was scrubbing kitchen floors and vacuuming every other day. Greg called it pulling your weight. When I asked if Emily would do the same chores when she turned 9, he laughed like I'd told a joke. I worked harder, I stayed quieter. I became the ghost that cleaned their house. They had no idea how often I stood outside their bedroom door listening for my name, hoping for it, even just once. It never came. Still, I told myself that Emily was worth it. She'd be my best friend, my family. If one of us had to be treated like a background character, let it be me. And for a while, I believed it. Until the day they sold some of my clothes to help pay for Emily's 8th birthday bash at a water park resort just outside of Eugene. They said money was tight, but I knew the truth. There were 2 children in that house, but only one was cherished. And it wasn't me. By the time I hit high school, I had perfected the art of being invisible. I stopped asking for attention. I stopped waiting for praise. I focused on 2 things, my grades and Emily. I figured if I wasn't going to be the child they adored, at least I could be the sibling she depended on. So I poured myself into her world. I drove her to soccer practice once I got my license, helped her memorize lines for school plays. I even took on an after-school job at a local electronics store to help pay for things she deserved, like that personalized backpack she saw online with embroidered patches of her favorite band. No one asked me to do it, but no one stopped me either. The more they spoiled her, the harder I worked, and the more invisible I became. By 17, I had my eyes set on the College of Engineering at the University of Michigan. I studied relentlessly, earning a partial scholarship, and spent my weekends fixing busted appliances for our neighbors to save up for what the scholarship wouldn't cover: textbooks, food, and housing essentials. Meanwhile, Emily was blossoming into a teenage whirlwind of popularity and entitlement. On her 14th birthday, she asked me, no, demanded that I cover airfare for her and 2 of her friends to fly to Orlando. "You want me to blow my college savings on a Disney trip?" I asked, half laughing, half praying she wasn't serious. She stared at me like I was a defective machine. "You're so selfish. You wouldn't even be here if they didn't adopt you. You owe us." I froze. Something in her voice was sharp, final. "You're not even real family," she added with a sneer. Her words landed harder than I expected, like tiny hammers to the chest. I stood there stunned as she flicked her ponytail over one shoulder and smirked. "Guess I win again," she said smugly. Before I could even process the sting, Angela stormed into the room, arms crossed and jaw clenched. "Ethan," she snapped, "we raised you to be a good brother. Why is that so hard for you to understand?" Then she looked at Greg and they began murmuring to each other right in front of me about how adopting me had been a massive mistake, as if I weren't even there. As if I hadn't spent over a decade giving up every inch of myself to make their lives easier. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just said calmly, "One day you'll need me, and I won't be there." Then I walked away, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. That night I lay awake wondering whether I had just burned a bridge or escaped from a cage. I didn't go back downstairs for dinner that night. Or the night after that. I spent the next few days avoiding everyone in the house, leaving early for school, and staying out until the library closed. I told myself I was just giving things space, that maybe if I stayed out of sight, they'd realize how much space I'd been quietly holding for years. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about space. It was about survival. Then came Saturday, the day I usually reserved for myself. No tutoring, no chores, no running errands. Just me, my favorite worn-out hoodie, and the one ritual that kept me tethered to something real. I opened the small drawer in my nightstand, reaching for the gold chain my birth mother had left me when I was a baby. It was the only thing I had from my past, the only object that made me feel like I came from somewhere from someone. But the drawer was empty. Panic rushed through me like ice water. I tore apart my room, stripping sheets, pulling out drawers, even checking behind the dresser. Nothing. That's when I heard Emily's alarm go off. I didn't knock. I barged into her room, heart pounding, chest tight. She didn't look surprised. "You looking for the chain?" she said, still in bed, stretching like a cat. "Yeah, I sold it." Her voice was flat casual, like she was talking about returning a shirt to the mall. "It was my birthday," she said, "and I wanted something nice. So, now me and my friends have matching designer hoodies. Pretty cool, huh?" Cool. The silence that followed felt deafening. She was still talking, listing the brand, the colors, how everyone at school loved them. But I didn't hear a word. It wasn't about the hoodie, it wasn't even about the money. It was about the chain, the only physical reminder that someone once somewhere had wanted me. And she had sold it like it meant nothing. I turned around and walked out of her room without a sound. I could hear her calling my name behind me, but I didn't look back. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the blank wall, feeling everything and nothing all at once. That chain wasn't expensive, it wasn't flashy, but it was sacred. Now it was gone, traded for something that would fade, shrink, or tear just like their affection. I grabbed my phone and checked my bank account. 3 won, money I'd saved from tutoring, weekend jobs, and birthday checks from Angela's parents, the only two people in that house who never forgot I existed. It wasn't a fortune, but it would have to be enough. I began to pack 2 duffel bags, just essentials, laptop, clothes, toiletries, and a few books that reminded me of better times. The rest of the house was buzzing with laughter and chatter downstairs. They hadn't even noticed what they'd taken from me. And now I was taking myself away from them. I zipped my bag shut just as a soft knock landed on my door. "Ethan, dinner's ready," Greg said through the wood. "Your mom wants you to come down." Your mom. That title used to mean something. But it hadn't belonged to Angela since the day Emily came home from the hospital. "I'm not hungry," I replied flatly. "Don't be like this," he snapped, his voice slipping into that familiar edge of irritation. "Just come eat with the family." The family. He said it like I was part of it. I didn't answer. A moment later, I heard his footsteps retreating down the hallway. That night, I waited until the whole house was asleep. Then I slipped out the front door, the cool Oregon air wrapping around me as I stepped off the porch with my backpack slung over one shoulder. I left a note on my pillow: "Staying with a friend until college starts, don't worry." Though I doubted they would. I texted the only person who'd ever really made space for me in high school, Noah Simmons. We'd worked together on a robotics project sophomore year. We weren't close, but he was kind. Real. "Hey, any chance I could crash at your place for a week or two before school starts?" I wasn't expecting much, but a minute later my screen lit up. "Of course, dude. My parents already know you. Pull-out couch in the living room's all yours." It was like a breath I didn't realize I was holding finally escaped. I didn't want to wake Angela's parents by starting the car, so I walked the 3 miles to Noah's apartment on the edge of town. It was almost midnight by the time I knocked. His mom opened the door in a worn housecoat and tired eyes, but she still smiled like I was someone she was glad to see. "Come in, sweetheart," she said. "You look like you've had a long night." She didn't ask questions, just pulled out the couch, handed me an extra blanket, and told me the bathroom was down the hall. That night I slept better than I had in years, even with the spring digging into my ribs. The next morning I woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. Noah's mom had made a full breakfast, eggs, toast, fruit, everything. She handed me a plate like it was nothing, but it almost made me cry. "Thank you, Mrs. Simmons," I murmured. "You're welcome, Ethan," she said warmly. "You can stay as long as you need to." Noah joined us like it was just another Sunday. His dad wandered in and started chatting about last night's baseball game like I'd always belonged there. No explanations, no expectations, just belonging. Around noon, my phone started buzzing, text after text from Angela. "Where are you? Come home now. We're worried. This is completely irresponsible." Funny how suddenly they remembered I existed. I shut off my phone. Then I cleared the table and helped Mrs. Simmons wash the dishes. For the first time in my life, I wasn't doing it to earn affection. I just wanted to. That first week at the Simmons place blurred by in a mixture of quiet relief and unfamiliar comfort. I helped out where I could, washed dishes, took out the trash, fixed a leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom. Mr. Simmons handed me a $50 bill when I finished. "Call it a college fund contribution," he winked. It was the first time in a long while that helping someone didn't feel like a transaction. A week after I left, my phone vibrated with a text from Emily. "Mom and Dad are super mad at you. They say you're being ungrateful." I didn't respond. Then another. "Hello, I know you're reading this." Still nothing from me. A third one came later that night. "BTW, I sold your Xbox too. Hope that's cool. LOL." That was it. I blocked her. I blocked Angela and Greg too. No more guilt, no more back doors left unlocked. 2 days before I was supposed to move into the dorms, I made one last visit to the house I used to live in. I timed it for midday when I knew everyone would be gone. I still had my key, which felt ironic in my hand. Inside, the air smelled the same: vanilla candles and lemon-scented floor polish. My room was mostly untouched except for the obvious absence of the Xbox. I gathered what was left: clothes, books, an old sketch pad I'd nearly forgotten about. Just as I zipped the final bag, I noticed a small box sitting on my desk. My name was written on it in neat round handwriting. I opened it slowly. Inside was a fake gold chain, the kind you'd find at a mall kiosk or in a gas station jewelry case. There was a note too. "Hope this makes up for the one we lost." I almost laughed. They still didn't get it. It wasn't about the chain itself, it was about what it stood for. That original chain was a thread connecting me to a past that mattered, a love that predated their rules, their silence, their selective affection. This replacement, it was perfect because it symbolized exactly what they had become in my life. A cheap imitation of something real. I left the box and the note right where I found them and walked out without a second glance. College felt like the edge of something new, an open sky I had never imagined I'd reach. My scholarship covered tuition and housing. The savings I'd managed to protect would handle books and food. I picked up a part-time job shelving books at the university library to stay afloat. For the first time, I wasn't just escaping something. I was building something. My roommate Tyler was chill, respectful, kept to himself, didn't ask questions. We coexisted in a way that felt surprisingly natural. Classes were intense: calculus, mechanics, materials, science, but I threw myself into them like they were anchors, because they were. They gave my days shape and meaning. One afternoon, about a month into the semester, I checked my email. Subject line: "Thinking of you." It was from Angela. "Ethan, I hope you're settling in. We miss you. Emily keeps asking about you. Please call when you can. Mom." I hovered over the delete button, then clicked it. No hesitation. 2 weeks later, another email showed up in my inbox. Subject: "Please respond." "Ethan, please talk to us. We're worried. Your dad and I want to come visit. Just tell us when. Love, Mom." I didn't even open it. Midterms swept in like a tidal wave, and I focused all my energy on surviving them. I aced everything except multivariable calculus, which nearly crushed me. My professor suggested I join a study group. That's how I met Zoe Blake. Mechanical engineering major, neon green hair, sharp tongue, brilliant brain. Zoe made integrals and differential equations feel like puzzles instead of punishment. We started hanging out after our sessions, grabbing coffee, swapping stories, venting about professors who acted like tenure made them gods. She told me about her 5 siblings, her exhausted but loving parents, and her abuela who still sent her home-cooked tamales in Tupperware containers labeled with permanent marker. Eventually, I told her about Angela and Greg. Not everything, just enough. They forgot my birthday 3 years in a row, I said one night, tossing a peanut shell into a diner basket. Zoe blinked, then raised an eyebrow. Your birthday? I nodded. She shook her head slowly. Man, that's not just forgetfulness, that's deliberate. I guess. You're probably better off without them. Maybe, still sucks though. Zoe didn't press further. She just nodded and moved the conversation along. That's what I liked about her. She never tried to fix things. She just stayed. Thanksgiving break came faster than I expected. The dorms were shutting down for the week. I didn't have anywhere to go. A hotel room would have cost me half my savings. Tyler offered to bring me home to Chicago, but the idea of spending a holiday with people I didn't know felt overwhelming. Zoe solved the problem like it was nothing. Come to my place. I blinked. Seriously. My mom cooks for 12 people minimum even when there's only 5 of us. You'll be doing her a favor. I don't want to intrude. You're not, trust me. My parents will be thrilled to fatten up a new guest. So I did it. I packed my duffel bag and rode home with her. Her house in Sacramento was small, loud, chaotic. Music playing, food sizzling, children shouting. People laughed over board games, fought over who got the last tamale, and called each other ridiculous nicknames. Her mom, Mrs. Blake, greeted me with a hug and immediately called me skinny like it was a crime to be fixed. Her dad gave me an oil change lesson in the driveway and didn't flinch when I spilled half the canister on my shoes. On Thanksgiving Day, we squeezed around 2 tables pushed together with mismatched chairs. Mrs. Blake asked everyone to say what they were thankful for. When it was my turn, I swallowed hard. I'm thankful that Zoe brought me here, I said quietly, and that all of you made me feel welcome. Mr. Blake raised his glass. Family ain't always blood, son, he said. Sometimes it's the people who stay when others walk away. I looked down at my plate, holding back tears. He was right. I hadn't lost a family. I'd finally found one. When we got back to campus after Thanksgiving, I checked my inbox again. 3 new emails from Angela, 1 from Greg. I deleted them all without reading. This time I didn't feel guilty, just done. The dorms would close again for winter break, but I didn't worry. Zoe invited me back without even waiting for me to ask. We already hung your stocking up, Mrs. Blake told me on the phone. Red with a gold E. I crocheted it myself. The day before finals ended, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. I was waiting on a call back from a potential summer internship, but something told me to pick up. Hello, Ethan. I froze. It was Greg's mother, Grandma June. I hadn't spoken to her since I left. Hi, Grandma. Oh, thank God. We've been so worried. Angela and Greg said you weren't responding to anything. I've been busy, I lied. I'm sure you have. Your grandfather and I are so proud of you, sweetheart. We'd love to see you over the holidays. I paused. I had always liked Grandma June and Grandpa Harold. They never treated me like an outsider. They never forgot my birthday. But seeing them might mean seeing Angela and Greg. I already have plans, I said. I'll be with a friend's family. Well, she said gently, perhaps we could meet for lunch one day, just us. I hesitated, then nodded, though she couldn't see me. Maybe. I'll let you know. She gave me her number and told me to text any time. I hung up and sat there for a long time staring at my phone. Christmas morning at the Blake's house felt like a dream. The living room was overflowing with lights, garlands, mismatched wrapping paper, and handmade ornaments that leaned sideways on the tree. There was a pile of gifts with my name on them. None of them expensive, a backpack, warm socks, a notebook, but each one felt chosen, thoughtful. They came with hugs, high fives, and genuine laughter. I slipped away for a moment to text Grandma June. Merry Christmas. I hope you and Grandpa are doing well. She replied instantly. Merry Christmas, Ethan. We miss you so much. Are you having a good day? We messaged back and forth for a while. She didn't push, she didn't guilt. Just asked about school, told me about their quiet morning, and sent me a photo of the pie she baked. That night, Zoe handed me a controller and challenged me to beat her at Mario Kart, while her youngest brother chanted Team Ethan with a mouthful of chocolate cake. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a burden. I felt chosen. After New Year's, I followed through on my promise and met Grandma June and Grandpa Harold for lunch at a diner near campus. They both looked older, smaller, but they smiled like nothing had changed. We have something for you, Grandma said, pushing a small box across the table. Inside was a gold chain, not the same one, of course, but heavier, stronger. We bought it ourselves, Grandpa said. Not them. We just wanted you to have something to remember where you came from. I looked at them both and nodded. Thank you, I said, voice low. This means more than you know. In that moment, I understood something clearly. I hadn't lost everything. I just hadn't known where to look. Spring semester picked up quickly. Classes got harder, but I was more focused than ever. I joined a robotics team, kept my job at the library, and spent weekends helping Zoe's younger siblings with their math homework when she brought them to visit. That's when the next email came. This time it was from Angela. Subject line, please read. Ethan, Emily's struggling. She's failing classes and skipping school. Her counselor says she might be acting out because she misses you. Please, would you just talk to her once, Moms? I stared at the screen for a long time before closing it. It wasn't my job to fix this. They had told me for years that I wasn't really family. Why should I be the one to step in now? And yet, the email lingered in my mind no matter how much I tried to shake it. Emily wasn't innocent, but she was also just a kid, one shaped by parents who never taught her boundaries, empathy, or even how to apologize. A week later, Greg emailed me too. Ethan, I know we've made mistakes, but Emily was caught shoplifting. The store didn't press charges, but she's in trouble. She needs you. Please help her, Dad. I showed the emails to Zoe. She read them silently, then said, You're kind, but you don't owe them your peace. I know, I said, but what if I can help her, just her? After a long pause, Zoe nodded. Then go, but go with boundaries. So I did. I called Angela that night. She answered on the first ring, shocked. Ethan, is that really you? It's me. I'm so glad. Things with Emily are worse. She barely speaks to us. She's angry all the time. What do you want me to do? Just come for a day, talk to her, that's all. I thought about it. I'll come Saturday, a few hours, no overnight, no pressure. Of course, she said quickly, anything. When I arrived, it was like nothing had changed. Same brick house, same creaky porch. But it felt like a museum, familiar but frozen. Angela met me at the door teary-eyed. Thank you for coming. Where's Emily? She doesn't know you're here. Greg stepped out of the kitchen. Hey, son. I didn't answer. Emily's door was closed. I knocked gently. Go away. It's me, I said. Ethan. Silence. Then the door cracked open. She looked different. Pale, hair tangled, eyes hollow. Why are you here? Your parents asked me to come. She rolled her eyes. They can't handle me. Can I come in? She hesitated, then nodded. Her room was chaos, clothes everywhere, half-eaten candy bars, open notebooks covered in scribbles. I sat in the desk chair. She sat on the bed. So, makeup, huh? She shrugged. Wasn't a big deal. It was, you got caught. Doesn't matter. I mess up everything anyway. We sat in silence. Then she mumbled, I'm sorry, for the chain. I didn't get it then, but I do now. I looked at her for a moment and nodded. I'm not coming back. I said, this isn't my home anymore. I know, she whispered, but I'm still your brother. She blinked fast. You'd really still talk to me? Yeah, I said, because you're trying now. When I left that day, Angela and Greg tried to apologize, to make things right. But I didn't need their closure. I already had mine. Back at school, Zoe was waiting for me. How'd it go? I told her everything. You think Emily's gonna be okay? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly, but I'll be here if she wants to be better. Weeks passed. Emily texted me once or twice, normal stuff. She was doing better, calmer. Then one day, a small box arrived in my campus mailbox. Inside was a gold chain. Not the same, but close. There was a note. I saved up for this. I know it doesn't make up for everything, but I hope it means something. Love, Emily. I put it on and took a picture, sent it to her. Looks good, big brother. And it did, because now it wasn't about what I'd lost. It was about who I'd become and who I'd finally chosen to keep.